Hello everyone, how are you? My name's Eva, I'm the director of both the Scottish Yarn Festival and also the Scottish Wool Producers Showcase. I thought it might be a little bit fun to come on and do a sort of Good Friday lunchtime live and actually finally get around to showing you what I bought at the Scottish Wool Producers Showcase, which I can hardly believe is almost 2 weekends away now. So hi everyone who's joining in. So full disclosure before we begin with what does a yarn festival director buy from an event. Some of these are purchases and some of these are gifts, and I will be very clear about which are which. John, thank you. So should I actually just pause for a moment and stop and kind of show you, because it's in Perth, it's still quite chilly. We've actually got one of the most beautiful days we've had in a long time. And I think I might be a bit naughty, take the rest of the day off, sit in my garden with my knitting and pour myself a little glass of chilled rosé that I've got going. But there's still a little bit of a chill. It's perfect sweater weather, and this I made back in 2018, and I don't really get much of a chance to wear my own knits because I have cats, and that's the trade-off that I have. I'm curating my own perfect woolen wardrobe for the sad days when I no longer have them and I then have a wardrobe to emerge out into. But this is the Gwanwyn sweater by Sustainablest Company. I love this kind of like Japanese style yoke, which just seems to be bang on trend just now, but it wasn't really back in 2018 when I made it. There weren't many patterns going about like this. It's got you don't want to see too much of my chin, but it's got an I-cord neckline that you do afterwards. And yeah, you've got twisted stitches. All this is like twisted stitches and cabling, and I'm a big cabling fan. And yeah, I think, if I remember correctly, I think it's supposed to have, or it might not actually have, an I-cord bind off around the bottom as well. I didn't do that. It's done in new Lanark yarn. It's holding up for the little I have worn it considerably well. I've not had to pill it yet. Yeah, I love it. I love how you can also see my tattoos. It's bonus points when you get to flash a bit of your ink. But yeah, I love this. And I think the tone of the yarn works particularly well, especially the older I'm getting. I have so much white hair now underneath all this that dyeing it red just isn't happening anymore. It's not taking the dye the same, so I'm going back to what I was when I was younger and blonde, until I have enough white coming in that I will just fully embrace my inner wild woman. That's not what you're here for. What you're here for today is to see what does a yarn festival director buy from their own events, or in some cases is gifted. So boxes here, I've got a cuppa, which is balancing quite precariously. Everything's balancing quite precariously. But I wanted to get the best sort of light to show you the goods as opposed to show you the bags. So first up, because I didn't really have much time in the sort of lead up to have a look through my pattern queue and match things, so I had a rough idea as to what I wanted to make, and guesstimations as to how much yarn I might need for each. But I think it just kind of comes with crafting over time. You kind of, in the same way that you learn to read your knitting and your crochet, you kind of get a rough idea as to how much you might need for a particular glimmer in the eye type project. So I have 4 of these. Just to show that there are indeed 4. And I'll pop a couple of these down now on the Wurlitzer. Yeah, so I love these. This is springtime in Scotland. There's always going to be a bit of a glare. I'll try and minimise it as much as I can. So this is the Westfield Croft. This is their Llyn and Jacob blend. Now, Llyn is spelt Leyn, and I have worked with pure Llyn yarn before. I've also worked with pure Jacob before, and it's gorgeous. It gives Really fantastic stitch definition. In fact, I knit up a sample bark lines by Hohi Locatelli years ago now for Springfield Farm yarn in their llyn in a sort of yellow, buttercup yellow kind of shade, and that entire pattern near enough is twisted stitches, and it was a perfect combination. And I'm a big fan about maybe taking a pattern that you might not have and popping it into a traditional wool and kind of matching the two. Not everything has to be merinos and silks and drapes. You can still get a really warm, robust, standout knit by using some of these more heritage breeds isn't right, but our native breeds, shall we say. So I have 4 of these. They are DK. So I've got about 220 metres per ball, and this is natural blending to get these shades as well. And it was just, there were a few there, but this was the right one, and it will not capture on screen, unfortunately. This is the Skulmy Grey, and it does actually say it's undyed. And can we just take a moment out to appreciate how perfect these ball bands are? I know over the years there's been a fair amount of discussion about what sort of information should you have on a ball band, and Marguerite just, she's done it. She's absolutely done it. So you've got on the front, so it kind of appears more of a traditional ball as opposed to a skein or a hank. But there you go, you've got the details. You can go back to their website, because obviously sometimes farm, in particular the farms and homesteads websites, are very different from their brand name. Can you see that without it glaring? It's going to glare slightly, but there you go. Fibre, weight, length, little tip box. Genius, absolutely genius. Recommended. Needle or hook size, what the colour is, and it's undyed. Some washing instructions, where to find them on social media, and then they've got a little sticker to hold it together, and it's stuck down really well actually. And then they've got a bit about their story also on the ball band, and this I love. I absolutely adore this touch. Look, provenance, and it tells you what the fibre makeup is with a little sheep. And if you want more information, you can even just scan the QR code to go to the website. Genius, absolute genius. I would love to see an awful lot more than that. And excuse me for a moment, because it's also hay fever season. Oh, that's what happens when I start talking. Right, shall we go on to the next one? On to the next one. In fact, let me have a little sip of coffee first. But yeah, I've got 4 balls of those. And just, yeah, absolutely perfect. So I have a project in mind for them. Stay tuned. Okay, what next? I'll show you these next. Look, oh, that's actually showing up quite true to colour on the screen. So I have 3 of these. That one is possibly showing up slightly greenier. I'm not quite sure. Anyway, these were also on my shopping list, but I wasn't quite sure what colours I wanted, apart from I have wanted a woad dyed yarn forever. Forever, because it doesn't seem to matter, whoa, as I throw it away, it doesn't seem to quite matter what shade comes out with natural dyeing with woad. I'm in love. So these are what I got from Bearford Originals. And I think what's probably going to happen is these will all end up in the same project. I may have to add with some more of their yarn at a different point in time and take a neutral with it and use these as kind of like contrast colours or colour pops in a larger project. So whether that's going to be a garment and maybe have some striping or some texture sections in these colours, or sections in a shawl, I don't know. I don't know yet, but you don't always need to buy that yarn with the project in mind. I think particularly when you've got solids or semi-solids, it's like building a colour palette. It's like building like a paint palette, you know, within your space, if you're lucky enough to have that space. And I am lucky enough to have that space, and you can just kind of curate, and then sometimes you've got a project and you need the colours, and you can just go and you have those perfect colours there already. I find that particularly helpful. And you know, how do you create, you know, a yarn collection and colour palettes to go back to? And these are perfect. So this was the first one I brought out. So again, these yarn bands are brilliant. It's Bearford Originals. This is the collaboration between Bearford Farm and also Woolly Originals, Sarah from Woolly Originals. Sorry, I got slightly sidetracked there. Matteo, you're here, and I really should have brought your cowl down, because that's also kind of a purchase that I bought before I actually started purchasing at the event. So I might just have to do a wee special on that. Sorry. Yeah, post-event brain. So this is Bearford Originals, organically woolen spun 4-ply. Suggested needle size of between 2.5 and 3.5 millimeters, and these come in 25 gram little cakes. Oh, hello Verena, how lovely for you to join us. Aren't they gorgeous? Thank you. So these are BDA certification organic. They've got batch numbers on them. It tells you what they've used, the materials for botanically dyeing these. So weld and woad have been used in this. So a really slow, mindful, thoughtful practice has gone into these, with a price point to reflect that. So these are not as cheap. The price reflects the materials, the work, everything that's gone into these. So you're about £7.50, if I remember correctly, for 25 grams. So it is up the higher end of the scale, but absolutely worth it. And I think they were just about sold out, if they didn't end up sold out at their stall. So this is the weld and the woad, and I just love it. So 25 grams, I've got 87 metres. So I mean, that's a decent meterage to pop a colour into something else. This one is, does it tell me what yarn it is? Oh yeah, sorry. So it's a 50% Jacob, 50% Wensleydale cross Shropshire. So it's a really interesting blend with having that long wool in it as well. And they've used it on their Winningham or Whittingham white base. So they put the base, because obviously that's going to affect how the colour takes as well. So there's so much information on these labels as well, which is just fabulous. So we've got that one. I have, it's the same, but this is just woad itself. And then the third one from them, this is alder cones and also woad that's been used for this. The intensity of that colour, I'm completely in love, and I could have gone berserk at their stall. I really could, but even by the time that I got there, there wasn't much left. So I got some for myself, and I got some for a friend as well. I got a little pack of 3 that they'd already put together in a set to send to them. It's Bearford Originals, and they are really sort of small micro makers, those ones. Okay, on to the next purchase. So I think I'll probably do the purchases first and then the gifts afterwards. Okay, I couldn't not purchase some Aister Wool. So Aister Wool is really, really special. They are 5th generation farmers on the same family croft on mainland Shetland, and just over the last couple of years they have ended up creating their own yarn brand rather than selling off their fleece elsewhere and getting that extra value. They brought out new colours, so this is the 3rd time I've been fortunate, 4th time actually, I've been lucky enough to work with Aister Wool. They shipped yarn down in advance for the inaugural Scottish Wool Producers Showcase. They shipped us more for the event that's just happened. We were lucky enough to have Hazel and Kaylee in person at what was Perth Festival of Yarn last September, which is now the Scottish Yarn Festival. And they shipped yarn down to Yarningham last July. And I was going down anyway, and because I was there anyway, I said, look, I'll look after your yarn for you. So I got to champion the Aister then as well. So big fan of what they're doing. I'm not a stranded colour work knitter. I'm not a fair isle knitter. I admire it. It's just not something I feel particularly drawn towards doing myself. But I do love their yarn for the colours that it's got, for the, again, the stitch definition, the texture. There's so much more you can do with Shetland wool than fair isle or stranded work. And I just think that kind of bears repeating sometimes. So I think this must be their new yarn labels. They've gone for a different colour as opposed to maybe the older ones that are white, or maybe they're doing a blend of the two. I'm not quite sure. Certainly there was a mixture of the two in the box that I got. This is one of their new colours, because they sent us their new colours, which they launched on the 25th of March. That's exciting. This is Mid-Setter, and it is like the most perfect French navy I have ever come across. This is like my holy grail of colours. I have been searching for so long for the perfect, what I would call French navy, and this is it. Mid-Setter. So this is a jumper weight. These are 50 gram cakes, 142 metres for 50 grams. Loving that. And again, I've just gone for sort of like Shetland for weaving. Perfect. It's such, I don't particularly like the term workhorse yarn because it kind of gives an impression of maybe being scratchy or coarse. It's not, and it blooms so gorgeous. I've done 2 shawls with Aister now, and I've got so much left over, and I was given some as a gift from a friend for my birthday last year as well, which was a natural set. So I have lots now, and I think that's what was my thinking behind this. Is I've got quite a lot of neutrals left. I've got some really bright colour pops from Aister left. I've got some of their Aister Lee, and I've got, is it Geo Runty? Or no, I think I've got Sooth Blue Geode. I've got one of the blue geodes as well. So I've got plenty. And again, if you've got those neutrals, bring in some colours. You know, there's so much that you can do with those palettes. So I just wanted these again to kind of put aside. 50 grams is perfect. And I'll find something to do with them. And again, this is my ultimate green. It's a bit muddier is not the word. It's slightly more subtle than a chartreuse, I think is the best way to describe this. So this is Shumri, or Shumri. This is perfect. This is the perfect green, which goes with my green eyes. So I got 50 grams of that as well, and I also took, that's a new shade. In fact, I think all 3 of these are new shades, and I took 50 grams of this one as well, which is Fjord, which is a new colour, and it's blowing out in this light. It's showing up as more of a petrol blue on the screen. It's more of a teal. It's definitely got more of a teal to it, so got those, which are kind of similar colours to what I've gone with the Bearford Originals. And it's kind of funny because what I'm working with at the minute in 2 new projects that I just cast on over the last couple of days, excuse me, a lot of yellow. There's a lot of yellow there, and I thought I must be channeling spring and the reawakening. So goodness knows what's going on. Right, I'm saying that, channeling sort of springtime and all the sort of particular colours of this, and then I bring these over. So these were my final purchase, and these were from Hawkshaw Sheep. So both of these are from Hawkshaw Sheep's Tweed Valley yarn range. Again, the labelling, it just seems to be a thing, and I love it with single farm producers. There's an awful lot of information that they give you regarding their provenance and what you need to know. They just seem to go to that extra level. So both of these are Sue's Curlew 4-ply, 100%. She's labelled it British wool, but I believe it's all from her flock, so it's 100% Scottish wool. Created from the Derbyshire Gritstone and Shetland fleeces. 280 metres per 100 grams. Now she's got 280 on this one, and she has 300 on this one. So yeah, they seem to be slightly different, although they're both labelled Curlew. So I don't know if they were maybe just spun slightly different or in different machines within a mill. But they look to the naked eye pretty much identical, and I'm sure they'll be absolutely fine. And you usually get just a, you know, sort of plus or minus 5% anyway on yarns. So this one 280 metres per 100 grams, semi-worsted spun 4-ply, 16 wraps per inch. So we've got wraps per inch information on this as well, which can be really handy. Grown in the UK, scoured and spun in the UK. Yeah, it's fabulous. Now this colour is burnt orange, and it's blowing out on screen as things will do, but you can probably see that, you know, this has been, it's quite tonal, it's been dyed and it's been over dyed, so there's depth of colour in this, which is gorgeous. And they might end up in the same project, I'm not quite sure. Again, you could pair them up with any sort of similar neutrals. Again, there's just so much you can do, but I'm obviously looking for particular colours, to maybe subconsciously looking for certain colours to add into my collection. That's true, Rosie, definitely. I think they're from the same clip, and that's the thing that was kind of confusing me. I'm pretty sure they're both from the 2019 clip. So I'm not quite sure, but it's fine. There's not a huge amount in it. So yeah, right. So this one, same sort of information, but it's 300 metres per 100 grams and 18 wraps per inch. This is the 2019 clip, so it's lovely to have clip information on it as well. And it just shows you there's always a delay from, you know, removing the fleece from the sheep, clipping, getting it pecked, getting it scoured, getting it spun, going through all the processes, getting getting it back from the mill, and then some of our producers hand dye it as well. You know, it takes a long time, and then we've had the pandemic as well, which shut down everything, including the mills and that infrastructure. So, you know, we're getting 2019 clip now. Yeah, that kind of blows my mind a wee bit. King's Fiberfest. Yeah, I will do. I'm planning on saving the live once it's done. I'll put the information in the box, but I'll also go and save it and upload it to our YouTube channel as well. So yeah, so this is the same. It's the same sort of yarn blends. 2019 clip. Love having that, and this is the shade Golden Yellow. And it reminds me of gorse. Really, it's not a colour that tends to go with my skin tone particularly well, but it's always a shade that I'm incredibly drawn towards. And then I've got 2 gifts that were given to me as well, so full disclosure on this. So the first one, funnily enough, might look a little bit familiar to you all. This is Annfield Farm, and this is their 4-ply mohair. There's 100 grams here, so 100% Scottish wool, 70% mohair from their own goats, and 30% Shetland, which comes from neighbouring farms. They've got tension information on this. This is the Luskin Tyre, and this is batch 1 from 2023. And the reason that this might look familiar is because I was given a skein of this last September in DK, and I made the grow hat, and I gave it during the event to Lorianne and Andrew as a sample, and just like hold on to that because I knit so much, I can't possibly keep everything that I make. Lorianne does a little bit of knitting, but they are extremely busy, they don't have that time, and I said, look, just take this. I've had the joy of having that yarn for a while, making something, I'm giving it back to you, and it continues to give. So at the end of the event, they gave me the exact same colour in 4-ply. So I'll make a hat for myself out of this, because again, greens are absolutely my colour, and this yarn is magical once it's blotched. It's a joy to work with. It's got a gorgeous halo, but yeah. More sweater love, thank you. I did mention it up at the start, and I might have to put that information in the down box as well. This is Gwanwyn by Sustainablest Company, and it's knit in New Lanark DK. I knit it back in 2018, so it's quite old now. So yeah, back to the yarn, full disclosure, this was a gift, and the last game was a gift, but I love it. This is Luscantyre, it's the name of a beach on one of the Scottish islands. I can't remember which island it is off the top of my head now. I think it might be one of the ones on Lewis. But yeah, Luscantyre. There it is. And then the final, and this was quite a gift. So I have bought from this company before. I love this company. I joke with Mike all the time that I am, you know, I just champion them. I'm an unofficial ambassador for them, unashamedly so, because I'm just completely in love with everything that they're doing. I've knit shawls, I've knit hats, I've knit all sorts. So without further ado, I went to buy this. This is the story. I actually lifted up this cone. So it's a cone I've been given as a gift. I picked it up. I went to buy it. I fully intended to buy it, and Mike refused to take any money and gave it as a gift. I have a cone of Iona Wool, and it's just the most perfect thing. And I don't normally gravitate to pinks, but in the last year, again, maybe it's just the way that my hair is changing colour naturally now, and I'm becoming a bit older. Let's be honest, the pandemic has most definitely aged me. Definitely aged me. But yeah, I think I have been drawn a bit more to these pinks. This is a full cone of 4-ply, and can we just take a moment to look at this fabulous metallic bronze label that we have on this. So I get 340 metres for every 100 grams. I'm not quite sure how much is on the cone. I think this is a 500 gram cone. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's a 500 gram cone. I do. But you have to huggle Iona yarn at some point in your life. I'm feeling quite overwhelmed talking about this. This is such a generous gift. And like I say, I just, everything that Iona Wool are doing just speaks to my heart. So this is 100% single origin Iona yarn, and what makes it so special is that I believe all 7 crofts, or 7 of the crofts in the island, put all their fleece together, almost a bit like a cooperative, with all the different blends of fleece that they've got, and then you get like a clip once a year, and they pick it on the island, they sort it in the island, they send it off for scouring, and it goes different places. So this is IW4, so this is the 4th edition, and they have to collect enough fleece over 2 years before sending it away, to meet the minimum weight requirements for the yarn. So this was from Iona Wool 4, and they're just about to release Iona Wool 6. It didn't quite get back to the island on time to come down to the showcase. This shade is rock pink, so all the colours are not informed. They're inspired by different aspects of the island and island life. I mean, this island's quite small. I think there's only about 170 people on it. It's about 3 metres wide. It's just perfect. It's just perfect. It's off on the west coast of Scotland, and tourist season is now open. But they ship. I mean, you can go and buy this online, but I would absolutely recommend that you come to one of our events and buy from them. But yeah, I'm still a bit lost for words on this. I think it needs to be a garment this time. I know it needs to be a garment. I feel it might become a cardigan, just because I don't actually think I own a cardie. These days it's shocking, and Knitter doesn't own a cardigan. And I just think it'd be the most perfect sort of like throw on garment. And I quite like the idea of doing like a similar kind of style yoke to this, that sort of Japanese lace and cables or Bavarian twisted stitches or something like that on a yoke, keeping the rest of it plain. It is quite heathered. It's quite a heather yarn. It changes. I mean, every kind of like edition that they do changes depending on what sheep they now have on the island, what the condition of their fleece are like that year. You get a postcard with the edition information, and it kind of breaks it down sort of percentages that they've got. There's like swarbles in it. There's all sorts in it, and it's just, this is incredibly precious. Even, you know, the level of detail, the label is made from recycled materials. It tells you this, but that label's probably going to end up being a bit mark or something later on. Erin, yeah, I think we sent you some Iona wool, didn't we? Cables wonderfully. Stitch definition. I think that is a theme with all these yarns. The stitch definition with them is just incredible. So I have a cone. I have 500 grams. I believe it's 500 grams. I don't think it's 400. I'm pretty sure it's 500 grams. Anyway, it's a significant amount of Iona wool. I have enough to make an entire garment for myself. Probably going to be a cardigan, looking for some sort of detailing. If you have any ideas on what would you make? If you had this, what would you make? Pop your ideas, your suggestions down below. I will have a look, because it's just, there are so many patterns out there, aren't they? The right pattern will appear at the right time, and at the moment I'm just enjoying having this and loving it and squeezing it. And I do need to get myself over to Iona very, very soon. Every time I make plans to go to Iona, something happens. So it will happen. I will have to take it with me. I'll have to take my big serpentine dewy ocean shawl with me as well. I've still got that. The hats and things I've made of Iona wool, I've given those away as gifts. Yeah. I'm going to wrap up here. After my gushing and my love for Iona wool. So I'm incredibly happy with everything that I've got. I know that they will find their perfect patterns in time. Just building up those colour palettes with some of those purchases as well. They don't need to immediately become anything. But thank you for joining me today and seeing what a Yarn Festival director purchases from their own events. I will save this. It'll take a few moments just to kind of do all the saving behind the scenes on Instagram. I will link, well, I'll tag the accounts that we've got below so you can go and visit them. I will save this and I will upload it to our YouTube channel later on for people who maybe prefer to watch their content there or who aren't on social media. Also makes it a bit easier to save it and share it on Facebook for some reason. But thank you, everyone. Thank you. Will I sign off more details about my jumper again? This is probably like my most commented on garment ever. That's foreplay, I'm just thinking, because wouldn't this, if you had this in the DK, would make a perfect Gwanwyn. So this is the Gwanwyn by Sustainablest Company. And I've knit this version in new Lanark DK. I can't remember the shade, it was 2018. No, thank you everyone for coming and joining me. I know not everyone likes a haul, but I think sometimes it's just nice to share and to live vicariously through others and maybe get ideas for considered purchases further down the road. I think we're moving away from that whole yarn event. Oh my goodness, look at all the yarn, squirrel, 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 squirrel. Where do we go? And then just buying, oh pretty, buying single skeins, and then later on going, oh. So I hope this maybe gives a little bit of insight into maybe different ways of shopping for yarn, how to curate your yarn collection, maybe things that you want to look out for. These are slow produced fibres. I'm incredibly passionate about all the yarns, obviously, but I do find myself personally moving far more towards what is being produced on Scotland's shores. I'm excited to find the right patterns for these and to share what I make with these with you. And yeah, just thank you. Thank you for spending a bit of time with me this lunchtime or whenever you're watching it. And yeah, until next time, enjoy your weekend. Bye for now.